In the bustling city of Abenya, the Mensa family lived in a beautiful, spacious home that shone with promise each morning. Kofi Mensa, a hardworking businessman, and his kind wife Abenya, a caring doctor, devoted their lives to building a secure future. Their two children, Kwame and Ama, were the joy that lit every corner of their home. Every day the children awoke to the soft sound of birdsong and the gentle aroma of spices drifting from the kitchen. Abena lovingly prepared breakfast as laughter and chatter filled the house before the busy day began. With their parents leaving early for work, the children were cared for by a trusted helper, Auntie Ceci, whose gentle smile and soft-spoken nature quickly won the hearts of everyone. Yet behind Auntie Ceci's calm demeanor, a secret lay hidden. Though she appeared warm and caring, the shadows of her past hinted at darkness and troubled intentions. In hushed conversations among those who had known her before, there were murmurs of caution, a past marred by misfortune, and harsh choices. Despite these whispers, the Mensas embraced her without question, believing that her kind eyes and steady hands would safeguard their little ones. In the classroom, teachers noticed subtle changes. Kwame's once bright eyes sometimes clouded with uncertainty, and Ama's cheerful chatter would fall silent during quiet moments. As the city of Abenya bustled with life and promise, an unseen storm was gathering within the walls of the Mensa home, a storm that would soon challenge their love and test the strength of their bonds. Unaware of the danger lurking in the guise of care, the family stepped into a day that would forever change their lives. Every morning at school, the gentle hum of excited voices filled the air, yet something was amiss for Kwame and Ama. Their teacher, Ms. Aqua, had always admired the children's enthusiasm, but over recent weeks, a cautious glimmer of worry began to appear in their eyes. Kwame, once eager to share his thoughts during lessons, now often sat quietly, his gaze fixed on a spot far away, as if lost in a troubled thought. Ama, with her sweet smile, occasionally flinched at sudden sounds, her eyes darting nervously around the classroom. It was during a quiet afternoon when Ms. Aqua gently asked, "Children, is everything all right? I see you seem a bit distracted." The room fell silent as the children exchanged glances. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, Kwame explained that Auntie Ceci had been coming to school right when the final bell rang, hurriedly taking them away before the extra lessons began. The teacher's brow furrowed as she recalled that the Mensas had arranged for additional classes to help the children learn even more. "But why would your Auntie Ceci take you home early?" she inquired softly. The children hesitated, and in their uncertain eyes, Ms. Aqua sensed a hidden fear, a fear that something in their home might not be as safe as it appeared. Though the teacher respected the family's choices, the unanswered questions lingered in her mind. The warmth of the classroom could not fully chase away the chill of uncertainty that now clung to the children's smiles. Meanwhile, the day outside the school continued unabated, the sun shining as if unaware of the growing shadows in the lives of these young souls. At home, while the city of Abenya throbbed with energy, a secret routine had quietly taken shape. Auntie Ceci, with a soft-spoken voice and a careful manner, had begun to guide the children into routines they could not quite understand. Every afternoon, as the clock struck the hour when the extra lessons should have begun, she would appear at the school gates with swift determination, whisking Kwame and Ama away from the comforting confines of their classroom. Within the walls of the Mensa home, the atmosphere gradually shifted. Once filled with the innocent sounds of play and laughter, the corridors now echoed with whispered pleas and hurried conversations. The children would glance at each other with wide eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. Auntie Ceci's methods were firm and unyielding. She forced the two siblings to have canal knowledge of themselves. Whenever the children protest against her instructions, she would scold them with a steely look and even threaten to whip them. This continued for a while until one afternoon, fate an unexpected turn. One fateful afternoon, an unusual stillness fell over the city. Kofi, usually buried in meetings and business calls, felt an uncharacteristic tug of worry in his heart. Something in the back of his mind told him to break away from the rigid schedule that had long defined his life. Without a clear reason, he decided to leave work a little early, a decision that would change everything. As he drove through the familiar streets of Abenya, his mind wandered to his children, picturing their bright smiles and playful laughter. Yet, as he neared the school, an unexpected hush greeted him. At the school gate, Kofi's confident stride faltered when the security guard, with a puzzled look, explained that the children had left much earlier than usual. "Sir, Kwame and Amma were picked up just as school ended. We did not see them for the extra lesson period," the guard explained softly. Kofi's heart skipped a beat. He knew well that he had paid for those extra lessons to ensure the best education for his children. The discrepancy left him with an unsettling feeling that something was terribly amiss. Without a moment's hesitation, Kofi drove home, his thoughts swirling with concern and fear. The familiar route, once a symbol of safety, now seemed lined with shadows and unanswered questions. As his car neared the Mensa compound, he noticed the gate was slightly ajar, a detail that sent a chill down his spine. With each cautious step towards the door, his heart pounded louder. Unaware of the storm that awaited him inside, Kofi steeled himself to face what he could only imagine was a breach of trust that might shatter the life he had built. Stepping through the open gate, Kofi's footsteps fell softly on the cool tiles of the foyer. The silence inside was eerie, a stark contrast to the lively hum of earlier that day. He moved cautiously down the hallway, each step heavy with dread and disbelief. The familiar photographs of smiling family moments seemed to mock him now, as if whispering secrets he had been too busy to hear. A deep, foreboding sensation urged him forward until he reached the door to his children's room. Pausing at the threshold, Kofi took a deep breath and pushed the door open. What he saw made his heart shatter in an instant. In the center of the room, under the dim glow of a bedside lamp, stood Auntie Ceci. In her hand, she clutched a whip that glinted ominously in the faint light, while Kwame and Amma stood unnaturally still, their eyes wide with a terror that no child should ever know. The shock of betrayal was overwhelming. This was not the gentle caretaker Kofi had trusted, but someone whose hidden cruelty had invaded the very sanctity of his home. A surge of anger and sorrow welled within him as he stepped forward. "Ceci, what is happening here?" he thundered, his voice echoing off the walls. The room fell silent, except for the ragged breathing of the children. In that moment, the long-buried fears of neglect and loss flooded him. With trembling hands and a heart full of anguish, Kofi vowed that no harm would ever befall his precious ones again. The sound of distant sirens began to rise, a promise of justice for the broken trust that now lay scattered like shattered glass across his once happy home. The tense moments following the shocking confrontation, the echoes of Kofi's booming voice still resonated within the house. Auntie Ceci, caught off guard, trembled as she slowly backed away, her eyes darting in search of escape. But there was no refuge for deceit in a home where the love of family reigned supreme. As Kofi reached out, his heart pounded with both fury and sorrow, and the children, Kwame with his wide, tearful eyes, and Amma clinging to her father's side, felt an overwhelming mix of relief and fear. Their silent pleas for safety had finally been answered by the man who cherished them above all else. Outside, the wail of police sirens grew louder, a determined reminder that the law was swift when justice was at stake. Kofi, his mind reeling from the betrayal, steadied himself as he picked up his phone to call for help. His voice, though shaky, was resolute as he explained the terrible scene unfolding in his home. The officers arrived with urgency, and within moments, Auntie Ceci was taken into custody. The children, though still visibly shaken, were gently embraced by Kofi, a gesture that promised both protection and a fierce commitment to healing. In the aftermath, as the chaos of flashing lights and hurried voices slowly subsided, Kofi's thoughts turned to his absent wife. He knew that Abena, too, would be devastated by this betrayal. The realization that the person they had trusted to care for their little ones could inflict such harm was a burden too heavy for any parent. And yet, amid the ruins of shattered trust, there was a spark of hope, a hope that justice, love, and care would mend the wounds of the past and restore the safety of their home.
Within hours of the shocking incident, Abena received the call that shattered her carefully constructed world. Dropping everything, she raced home, her heart pounding with dread and regret. As she drove through the familiar streets of Abenya, tears blurred her vision, each tear a silent apology for the moment lost, for the time spent away from the ones who needed her most. When she arrived at the house, the scene that met her eyes was one of heart-wrenching sorrow. The front door stood ajar, a foreboding sign that something was terribly wrong. Inside, in the dim light of the living room, Abena found Kofi holding their youngest child close. The shock and pain in his eyes told a story of betrayal and deep loss. As soon as their eyes met, Abena broke down in tears, her sobs echoing in the silent corridors. "I am so sorry," she whispered repeatedly, blaming herself for choosing her career over the precious moment with her children. In that moment, the weight of guilt pressed upon her, and every decision she had ever made seemed to haunt her with regret. The police had already removed Auntie from their home, and as Abena clutched her children, she vowed that nothing would ever tear their family apart again. Auntie faced trial and was locked away in prison. Mr. and Mrs. Kofi decided to take their children for therapy. The moral of this story is that parents should not entrust the care of their children entirely to caregivers. Have good communication with children so that when things go wrong, they will be able to speak up. If you love this story, please give it a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you so much for your constant support. Let us know what you think about this story in the comment section, and please don't forget to share this story so that other parents will learn from it, as it is a true life story. Thank you so much for watching. See you in our next video. Bye.